Hello everyone and welcome to the Flix Forum podcast with Jesse, Heater and MJ. In this week's episode, we'll be discussing Netflix's 12th film, the 2016 science fiction film ARQ, or as we've referred to it as ARQ, directed by Tony Elliott, starring Robbie Amell, Rachael Taylor, Shaun Benson, Powell, Neayem and Adam Butcher. Welcome, boys.
Hello, mate. I think we always say that we go in completely cold to these films. Now you know for sure that we do, because last week we were saying that we're going to be talking about ARQ. So 5 minutes into this movie, I'm like, I think it's called ARQ.
It was definitely like, yeah, you know what? I think this movie is called ARQ.
And I had seen this film, so
that makes it even worse because you're the one that said ARQ last week.
So I feel like a complete idiot, but that's okay. We'll get there. So let's get into it. Fast Flix, we'll go around the table, do a quick 30-second summary of the film. MJ, you're going to hit us off today.
Let's do it. So, an exciting, heart-racing sci-fi set in a dystopian future where our main characters find themselves stuck in a time loop. A fast-paced journey where our protagonist is basically trying to stay alive, save the world, and figure out how the hell he can get past 925. Sound cheesy? It's not.
Ooh. Like the cheese word. Heater.
Very nice. All right. In a dystopian future, a young engineer and his long-lost partner become trapped in a time loop where they must try over and over again to fend off violent home invaders and save a new energy source.
Good.
You have to say dystopian future.
Yeah, we both said it. I hope it's in yours.
Oh, no. So, a repeating time loop sees a couple face demons from their past. They try to prevent an evil force from stealing an extremely valuable energy source and time-bending machine. Will they be able to break the loop?
In a dystopian future.
Hey, I didn't give away the end.
I love it. You're about to say it as I was too.
So, this ARQ. What do we know about this film? What have we discovered about it, Peter?
Filmed in Toronto in Canada in 19 days.
Yeah. I think Canada's obviously a good place at the moment for film production. It's a lot cheaper than doing it in mainland USA.
Yeah, it was quite a low budget film. I think they said they came under $2 million for the budget.
That's pretty low budget.
I mean, there's only a cast of about 6 actors and then 3 more voices, I think, on the TV. So there's not a lot of expenses there in terms of cast.
It's a very practical film. I think there's only one sort of CGI shot at the end, and apart from that.
And yeah, they don't really go anywhere, so it's all kind of like the same kind of studio would have been in.
Reuse a lot of the shots over and over too, which is handy. So ARQ, it stands for Automatic Repeat Request or Automatic Repeat Query. So it's an actual real acronym sort of thing. And it's a error control method for data transmission that acknowledges a receiver sending it. Being sent by the receiver, and then being able to rely that it's been acknowledged before it times out. So, interesting.
We should have known this was about a time loop.
We should have definitely known about it.
Premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival on September 9 in 2016, and then was released on Netflix worldwide on September 16. So a week later, I reckon that's one of the quickest releases from the festival premiere there onto Netflix that we've had so far.
It was fully funded by Netflix, so they were obviously ready to go with it. And I think the director, because I was reading that Tony Elliott, he wrote the film, or he came up with the idea back in 2008, and they had the film basically ready to go with another director for 5 years, tried to get it off the ground with another studio and a bigger budget, but they could never do it. And eventually just got a phone call from Netflix saying that they'd read the script and they were in and they were going to fully finance the film from day one, and all of a sudden there he is getting his first directing job as well. So Netflix obviously liked it as soon as they read it because, as you said, they financed it and then they put it straight onto Netflix a week after.
Yeah, straight away.
Film festival.
So the time loops every 3 hours, 14 minutes, 15 seconds. I'm not good at maths, but...
I found this out as well. I didn't know this until I read it.
That is pi.
It is pi. So and it sort of leads towards the end where they've got the big circle around the house. So it's like they've got that pi circle. So I thought that was quite a nice little
The loop was
The loop.
perfect circle.
Yeah,
Perfect circle.
yeah.
Did you guys pick that up when you were watching it?
No.
No, I did not.
I didn't. I must say, I don't think I must have been concentrating on the time, and as soon as I read it afterwards, I'm like, oh yeah,
I loved it when I read that. I was like, oh, that's awesome. Well
It's
done.
fantastic, like little thing to put in there.
I don't even remember what pi actually means, to tell the truth. So that's where I'm at with my maths.
Pi the diameter of a circle or something.
I will go with whatever you say.
Circumference, yeah, to a diameter.
Another thing, the code name Sonny, the character.
Around the circle.
Yeah. Sonny, his code name was Ouroboros, which is an ancient symbol of a snake eating its tail. And it traditionally represents the infinite cycle of destruction and recreation, life and
Clever
death.
man.
That circle.
Yeah.
Tony Elliott knew exactly what he was doing. Obviously, he was very close to this.
Yeah.
I love this. Actually, won an award in the Canadian Cinema Editors for best editing in a feature film. I love that because I think it was edited brilliantly.
Yeah, he got a couple more awards he was nominated for as well. For picture editing and production design at the Directors Guild, and it got nominated for an award at the Writers Guild of Canada as well.
Yeah.
So a pretty good first up performance.
I think that's probably the most nominations we've seen in a while. in some of the films.
I reckon.
Critically, so this is another one where I got frustrated because you go online, it's like, I think it said 43% for Rotten Tomatoes, and again, it's
From
based
seven
reviews.
Yeah.
But even like the audience reviews weren't that high either, which I thought
Surprised me.
a little bit surprising. Maybe it's a little bit too complex.
But that's the thing, I can't imagine sitting there watching this movie and being like, oh, that was rubbish. Because I was, like, despite the fact that it was difficult subject matter at times and you had to work a little bit hard to stay in it, which I think is a good thing for a film lover.
Yeah.
It was still exhilarating enough to be engaged. Like, what I loved about this film is it was an hour and 28 minutes, and it literally just didn't waste a minute.
Nah,
Like, it just goes to show that you can make a really good film without having to be like a big 2-hour blockbuster.
Yeah.
He knew exactly what he wanted to do. He didn't want to waste a scene, didn't want to waste a minute, and bang, he went out and did it.
And obviously linking that again, this is another directorial debut.
The writer and director.
He had written a few scripts for Orphan Black, which
he had,
which I think you can probably find on Netflix somewhere in the world.
He's definitely got that sci-fi background.
Yeah, he likes the sort of the subject matter that has something a little bit further to look into. I guess.
But he had the idea for this prior to working on it, and he submitted the script for this to get the job on Orphan Black.
Yeah.
Yep. Correct. What do we like about some of the characters in the film? I thought that the two main leads, like Robbie Amell and Rachael Taylor, I thought they were both perfect.
The acting,
They're really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you couldn't really fault the way that they played.
I hadn't seen a lot of Robbie Amell before, but I was really impressed with him. He was really good.
I think I've seen him in The Flash. I think that's the only show.
Yeah, I hadn't seen The Flash. Yeah.
The only thing that got me with him is I thought he was awesome, and I love the fact that he really bought into the role. But I didn't believe him to being like the greatest engineer in the world, and this like guy who looks like a fresh-faced 26-year-old.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I was just like. It was fine until I realised, like, oh, this guy's the one guy that's going to have the idea to save the world. I'm like, come on. But I agree. I thought he was awesome, and I thought Rachael Taylor was as well.
I really liked Shaun Benson as well, who played Sonny the villain. I thought he played that villain character really well. I was really impressed with him as well.
And Rachael Taylor, I remember there used to be this show. It only lasted a season. It was sort of like a rip-off between Home and Away Neighbours sort of soap opera called Headland. It was on Channel 7 in
and
Australia.
Of course you watched it.
And I watched it, and she was great in that. This was back when I was mere teenager, and I thought she was great in that. But she's done some good like Red Dog. If anyone's seen the film Red Dog, obviously she was in Transformers.
And she was good in Transformers too. She stood out.
Yeah, and I don't know if either of you guys have seen Matthew McConaughey film Gold. I really liked her in that as well. So I think she.
The best thing about her in Transformers is she keeps her Aussie accent. I like that a lot.
She didn't really need to keep or have any sort of accent in this. I think she was really good in this.
Yeah.
One thing about this film, I know you say you watch every movie with subtitles.
Yep.
I turned them on 10 minutes in because there was so much subject matter going on that was and terminology that was confusing me. And I turned the subtitles on, and it was amazing. It helped me so much for this film.
Like what kind of?
Well, just because you're introduced to a world that you don't quite understand what's going on.
Okay.
But then obviously all the stuff with Taurus, and what's the other one, the block or whatever.
Yeah.
Understanding what was happening with all that was really throwing me initially, and then being able to read it and hear everything and see everything they were saying made such a huge difference.
I think that probably the subtitles definitely helped, especially with the repeat scene where they're in the kitchen and in the background you've got that the TV news propaganda sort of running in the background. Definitely picked up on a couple of extra things you probably wouldn't have without the subtitles, and I thought that was a nice little touch.
It was really good, because the beauty of this film is that you learn more and more every time. And you learn more, not just about, the situation they're in, but you learn more about the world that they're in. You learn more about what Renton's actually doing, and you learn more and more about why they want the ARQ or why they want the scripts and that sort of stuff. Yeah. So it helped me just to stay in touch with it.
Good. Anything else you want to talk about the characters, or are we happy to move on to some scenes?
I think the characters. Well, I thought the acting performances were great. The characters didn't have a heap of depth. Yeah. Because it was more about the situation they were in that you cared about.
Yeah, rather than the actual characters.
Less about their past.
Itself,
And I was completely fine with that. It didn't bother me because I was really engrossed.
I thought the slow reveal of the relationship between Hannah and Ren throughout, like I thought each loop that went through, I thought that development of their relationship was spot on. Like I thought that was really good. Like
I agree.
Yeah, definitely helped. It made you care for them a bit more too, rather than just these two people that are trying to break a loop. It's like, okay, they've got a bit of backstory. They've got a bit of a past, and are they going to, moving forward, are they going to be together still or not? I liked that.
He was likable from the start, though, wasn't he? For some reason,
he was straight away.
He's a good-looking guy.
He's a good-looking guy. He's very good. Very good in The Duff. If you haven't seen The Duff, it's a funny movie. He's very good in that.
I've got so many things in this film that stand out.
I want to hear him.
Let's go, Jesse. What is it?
So, like I said, I really like the slow reveal of how they knew each other and how they lost each other and they're back together and she was angry but even though she was angry, she still wanted to come back to see that he was okay, and I really liked that went through each sort of loop. But then there were certain scenes that I just thought were exceptionally good at explaining the story. So one scene at the start that I really liked was where he put the plastic bag on the vent to see whether the gas was coming through, and it was really good because it sort of gave him and the audience, you're like, oh, it's safe for him to go now.
That's what he's doing.
It's safe for him to go, and then
really clever in explaining everything.
And then as soon as he walks out, it's like, oh, we're let down. It's like, oh, damn, we're riding that with him. I thought that was really good.
So good.
Yeah, that was really good.
It did made you I think as the scenes are going on, you're rooting for him, he's doing all these things, and because I guess the camera often it would be following him from behind a fair bit, and so it feels like you're on that journey with him, and you're rooting for him. Going, yes, come on, this is going to work for him.
Exactly.
The best thing about it was that in these sorts of movies, and initially this happens, and you're like, okay, he's in a time loop, and you're like, that's fine. He'll just learn the best way to do it, and then he'll figure it out. But every now and then, a new twist would come in to make it hard for him. And every time something would happen, I'm like, oh, what's he going to do now? And you know what? Almost my favourite scene was the bit where they both came back, I don't know, from the fourth or fifth loop, and they just stuffed up. They both woke up, and he was like, fuck. And then she wakes up and she goes, fuck. Because that's exactly how you felt as an audience.
Cool. So we're definitely putting a language warning on this episode now.
If you've seen the film.
I swear. I love that. Every time they woke up, they were more aware, and they were jumping out of bed to get going straight away, and I just loved always, they were always just getting up, and it was moving so quickly straight away. The next loop, it was all right. Let's get onto this. Let's go. It was great.
And as an audience member, though, you're doing the exact same thing. Every time it happened, I was literally by the way, I was yelling at the TV, just come on, do it.
So I like the reference to continental Australia and that insinuation that there's been some sort of radioactive disaster. I don't know whether that was a link to Rachael Taylor being Australian, or whether it was a link to Mad Max and Mad Max.
I was thinking Mad Max world.
Is it a Mad Max sort of?
I did read that theory
situation. I like that. I thought
in the same universe as Mad Max.
Yeah,
possibly.
I think it was the fifth loop. There was a scene where I think it was just after the one that we were just talking about before, and they woke up and she's literally Hannah was sitting on the back of the chair back to back with Ren, and the sound was muffled. There's no dialogue, no audio. It was just everything was happening around her, the same events that we'd already seen happen, and her facial expressions you could just read what was going on based on she's going from confused to understanding, and then it like sort of shut out again. And I was like, it's such good storytelling.
Yeah,
it was.
I even loved small things like when Ren was tied to the chair and getting the scissors, and the first 3 or 4 times he drops the scissors, but after he does it a few times, he gets better and he catches the scissors. I just love that kind of progression of, even not in terms of the whole story arc of what he's got to do, a simple thing as catching the scissors, he's learning every time and getting better. Eventually he gets it.
Exactly.
It's like little things like that.
By the end of it, it's like bang, bang.
Yeah, bang, yeah.
Yeah. And I think like there was sort of what you were saying before. There was the scene, there was the 6th loop, and Ren's walking around the house dodging Sonny. Sonny's walking around, they're both walking around the house, and like you're talking about with the point of view, like the camera was just following him, and the intensity of the scene with the soundtrack, and it's like following each character, and like you're sitting on the edge of your seat like going, what's going to happen, and to me that scene led to Ren finding the guy knocked out, and then he saw that he was in trouble and he put that towel around his head. So it sort of showed you that he was, he's a caring sort of character, but by being that caring character, that screwed up that loop, because the guy was able to come back and then they had to restart all over again. So
it's one of the times I was yelling at the TV.
What did you think about, like, I don't know, this, to me, the scene where there's the guy, he's lying there pretending he's dead the whole time. I was like, this is like Saw.
Yeah, Saw. Straight away Saw.
But it still worked.
It was good. It
didn't work as well.
It was
as
very
Saw
good.
Nothing's
that
ever
was
top that
amazing.
twist.
No.
That was one of the biggest twists ever.
And Ren as a character, like we showed that he cared. I really like the scene where he had the gun and he gave it to the father guy, and it was sort of like this situation where it was like really dangerous situation, but he's handed this gun over where it's like he's putting that trust in his hands. I thought that was really good as well. Just there's so many things that I can talk about with what I liked about this, and the manual disable scene where the lights went out and then there's just the gunshots going off, and all you see the gunshots, so you're like completely worried about what's going on with these characters, who's going to come out alive.
But that was at the point as well where you think, hey, the loop's going to stop now. If he's disabled it, and they die, they die.
Yeah.
That was
this is kind of the last chance he kind of thought for him,
and you know what, he did Tony Elliott did such a good job at raising the stakes so periodically that it just got so intense. Because initially, like, I remember you firstly find out, you're like, Hannah's working with these guys, like, oh, good one, that coming. And then initially you're like, okay, we can work through this. Oh no, Hannah knows about the time loop. Like that's gonna be hard. And then eventually it's like, oh, Sonny is double crossing them. Okay, there's another barrier to get. Oh no, Sonny knows about the time loop. Now he's on this as well. And then finally, sorry,
MJ's banging the table. We apologise for that.
And then finally you find out the guy who died at the start. Once they save him, and then he's double crossing them as well. Every single time I'm like, really okay, there's another snag in the road, but they can get through this one. And then like, oh, there's another barrier, and I just love that. And then obviously when they disabled the ARQ, I'm like, now they're gonna die. Like this is their last chance. I was just. Yeah, you could tell it really got me.
What did you think about the first scene where they walk outside? Because I think I thought that was, we've been watching this film for, it was over an hour, and it was all, perfectly lit, really, got that artificial inside sort of feel. And then as soon as they get outside, I think that further, I really liked the hinge or the tint of greyness and haziness.
Very bleak.
Bleak, yeah. And it's sort of,
just show that kind of future that they're in. That I guess you kind of always assumed, but didn't. But
this is what
they didn't have confirmed. Yeah.
I thought it was good because the what am I thinking? 10 Cloverfield Lane was like a similar sort of film where John Goodman plays this character where they're staying underground the whole time because they don't want to go outside because of this radioactive sort of thing. And I feel like this film did a really good job of reconfirming that, outside is bad. Yeah.
I actually initially, when we first saw like the zoom out of the town, or the houses that are around them, I was like, oh, is this because of what they're doing on this time loop? And then I just clicked. I'm like, oh no, of course it's not. This is just the world.
It's just the world they're in. Yeah.
Are there any other scenes that you guys want to talk about? Sorry, I probably took up
I really like the way they ended the movie, the end scene of it.
I agree.
Where they're still in the loop, and then obviously it's
But the loop resets.
Yeah, loop resets, and they wake up again, and you're like, oh yeah, they're just going to go over it again. But I thought that was a really good ending to end it on.
I liked it too, and probably the more I thought about it, the more I did pick up a couple of plot holes in it.
Mm-hmm.
That when Sonny stops Cuz from touching the arc and getting electrocuted, which was, I think that's what started the time loop at the start, because he touched it at 6:19 a.m. or whatever, and that started the loop for 3 hours, 14 minutes, 15 seconds.
Yeah.
So by him not doing that in the first place, the time loop actually shouldn't have ever started in that final loop.
Okay.
I know.
We're on the movie.
No, but this movie, I love it. This movie stayed with me, and I just kept thinking about it. I'm like, hang on. Because as soon as he wasn't dead, then the arc wasn't going to time loop. And that's where I was like, and then it did. And I was like, oh. And then I kept thinking about it. I'm like, no, like, that should have been that way. Do you know what I'm saying?
See, there was something like the... No, yeah.
So
I didn't think about that at all.
The time loop started when Cuz got electrocuted by it. He like short fired the arc, and at that time, I can't remember what time it was, say 6:19. It did that full circle. The full circle being 3.145.
Yeah.
So 3 hours, 14 minutes, and 15 seconds later, it time looped because he short circuited it in the first place. If he doesn't short circuit it in the first place, then the time loop shouldn't have been happening.
Yes.
Yeah, fair point.
Yeah.
So
I'm nitpicking like hell, because I enjoyed the movie and it didn't bother me.
when we're talking about we're talking about that sort of final scene there. So the whole film, or there are a couple of mentions about, and obviously through the progression of the film, people start remembering what's going on, and it was based on the how close you were to the arc.
Yeah, correct.
So the final scene, we see Hannah wake up, and she's the first one to wake up this time.
Yeah.
Was she the furthest away?
Yeah.
She was?
Yeah.
But she wakes up with like that realization face as well.
Yeah.
Because
I think she remembered more than Ren did at the very start of the movie, it seems.
But I didn't think they remembered anything.
Yeah. They made it out as if, we've got to do this video because we're going to forget everything.
Yeah. Because when Ren wakes up at the very start,
he's not sure.
He doesn't remember anything.
No. Well, mate, I feel like they got further.
Yeah, it's because that video...
Yeah, because the video, they were able to do more in the video.
They said more in the video.
Then they were able to do, obviously, the time before the movie starts.
Yeah.
So maybe because they got a bit further in, she's quicker to remember.
But you're not supposed to remember anything when it resets. Because that was 9 loops or whatever.
Yeah, after 9 loops you'll wake up.
But remember they said they'd had thousands before that. And then you're like, well, every time they wake up, they start from scratch. After the 9.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched this movie, you have no idea what we're talking about.
But so pause it and go watch it, because it's very good. It is very good and you will enjoy it.
So another thing, Ren had this sort of electric hand.
It was like a taser.
In his hand.
Yeah,
pretty badass.
It was like a glove kind of thing.
Glove kind of thing. And there was another scene, one of them had like that on his arm, that...
It was a glowing tattoo.
That sort of...
I think it was on Hannah. And it was on one of the guys as well, because I think I saw that and I was like, we don't, and then we didn't really get any kind of story behind it.
Nah,
is it part of
the torture, or is it part of a torture? Or
I thought it was a branding by Taurus.
Yeah,
okay.
Like, because I think it was on Hannah and her partner, the guy who she was kind of with.
Father,
who I think they were both captured by Taurus. So I think it was a branding that they gave them probably when they were at Taurus, but they didn't explain it at all.
No, so like, because to me I was like, has that got some connection to his electric hand thing?
Yeah, no,
that was completely different.
Yeah, I don't think so.
That was just a...
Yeah, no, I think it was a branding from when they were captured and tortured, but you kind of saw that, but then they just didn't go into it any further.
Yeah.
And so I was like, they kind of missed it.
And I think the electric hand thing was, as much as it is this future where everything's really bleak and poor, there is still some technological advancements.
Yeah.
You do have taser hands.
And I guess that is also because Rem, he's regarded as this amazing...
He's brilliant.
Engineer, so he can build something
from
like this. Yeah, this kind of just... This glove that he can put on and punch people and taser them was great.
Anything else anything that's...
I feel like we've glossed over the ending. So Hannah wakes up.
Yeah.
And I got the vibe that she remembered. Do we sort of agree with that?
Yeah, I think she remembered at least something.
Yeah.
Maybe not everything, like in the last couple of loops, but she definitely woke up remembering more than nothing that Ren had remembered.
I got the vibe that she remembered everything. She woke up as if like she died and then bang, like that happened straight away.
But maybe that was like her waking up on the 9th time of the next loop.
Maybe. Yeah, true. Maybe.
Because we didn't see the clock on the side telling us the time or anything like that, so we don't know what loop she's waking up in. This could be another 1,000.
I also think that's why it was so good, because it's so
open-ended. It's super ambiguous.
You can interpret it, I guess, however you want to.
But I just reckon that little hint that he gives you makes you think, this
I'll
time's
get out of it
different.
this time.
This time's different.
They might do it this time because they got so much further last time, it seems, than any other time, possibly.
Thousands of loops. Like years would have passed. And then
They haven't aged.
So what happens? What happens outside of the circle? Because they're saying the time loop is only happening
Only in the circle.
Yeah.
So
What's going on out there?
these people that Sonny's calling
these guys,
every time, and then all of a sudden they come, or are they just getting a bunch of phone calls being like, "What are you doing?"
I was reading an article on like a sci-fi website where this guy's gone through like trying to explain the entire movie and explaining these kind of things, and I was reading it and I had no idea what I was reading. Like it didn't make sense, but he was trying to kind of get I guess explain to people how he could be calling people every time on the outside world and stuff, but it didn't make sense to me.
And you know what?
I was trying to read into it. I was like, no,
this is
I'm
such
not getting it.
Complicated film.
It is.
And he does such a good job of making it accessible. And he still treats audience like intellects, which is a very important thing.
It's not something that all the makers have done the last few films.
No, not at all. They dumb it down, and it's a bit insulting, and you just don't enjoy it as much. But there's still he does. Even though we're nitpicking on these little things here, when you're actually in it and watching it, you don't really care or notice.
Wasn't thinking about that at all.
It really was edge of your seat stuff. I was genuinely like jumping up and down, and I'm not joking. I was yelling at the TV at times because I was so invested in this.
Can we have a dog update then? Was the dog barking at you, or was the
dogs had no issue? So my wife was home with this one. I think she was in another room and they were with her. So, but she was. I spoke to her like the next day. She's like, "What movie were you watching?"
What a screaming and jumping around.
Why are you saying, "Why don't you shoot Sonny right
now?" Well, I'm ready to move on to some things in
themes, because I'm good for scenes. Yeah.
There's a couple of like really meaty sort of words or like words of wisdom that the characters sort of just drop in every now and then. So. During one of the news broadcasts that we were talking about before, there was one where they were like, those who can't remember the past are condemned to repeat it. So it's sort of like, I really like that because that ties in exactly with what's going on.
What they're doing.
They're doing, as well as what's going on outside in the world with this war that's going on. So
it's a good thing throughout from learning from your mistakes and not repeating them. And
exactly. And so what do we think about the whole, what are they trying to say about the energy crisis? Like, there's there's energy wars going on in the background, and obviously Ren's trying to create this thing to create endless energy
need energy to run.
And he was continually shut down. I think he said he was called a fraud at some stage, but obviously
and then showing the greed of the energy companies who want that thing like just for themselves. No, he doesn't want to give it to them because they know that they're not going to use it for good.
Exactly. And another one of those lines from that news broadcast was like, the company will consume until there's nothing left to consume. So it's like we're just abusing all the resources that we have continually, and this Ren guy is sort of like, I want to create this resource but not have it abused, and I liked that. But
he created it whilst working for Taurus and then stole it, so it wasn't like, because the initial thing was they thought it was useless, but I think the ulterior motive was to say, hey Ren, this is not working, mate, but we'll hang on to it, and then he was savvy enough to take it out, and then obviously they're infiltrating the block to get the ARQ.
But if Hannah was a part of the block, her motive wasn't to take the ARQ though when they got there.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
That was the scripts.
Yeah. So, but then it became that they wanted the ARQ because they'd heard, or he, I think he said it's a time machine or something like that.
But it was also because Sonny and Cuz were the two guys who were obviously double crossing, working for Taurus, pretending to be in the block, but they were there to get the ARQ.
Yes.
So they weren't there. They didn't care about the scripts.
No.
Yeah. So that's and the more Hannah learned as she kept going through the loop, that she realised that the ARQ was super valuable, and she's like, "Give it to the block. Give it to the block. We can."
Yeah.
I liked that Hannah was in charge of these guys as well. I liked that they had this strong female. That
was good.
I think she said like, they're my subordinates. They must follow me or obey me. I think that was like it was a nice little tie-in as well, just to say that these guys, she was the only female in it.
Yeah.
In the whole thing.
In the whole thing, and she probably had the most power out of all of them, and we see that with that final scene. She wakes up, so she's got that power. So I really like that as well.
Yeah, that was good.
Another theme that is love. and I feel like they did a really good job with this love thing. So when Ren was captured, they asked, "Oh, what does ARQ run on?" And he's like, "It runs on love." And I really like that connection because it really did, because the code word was September 19, which was the date that they last saw each other. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. And he kept saying, if there's no world left, then there's no hope for us, sort of thing. Like, so it was all for him. It was all about him being able to be with her, and it was all about him being with her. So I really liked that as well. Any other?
Even though she did shoot him in one of the loops.
Yeah, but that was like
then she wakes up and apologizes.
I'm so sorry.
I shot me.
And obviously hope. There's lots of hope in it.
Yeah, a hope for the future and for a better world kind of thing.
I think survival was one of the big things, and it's a self-survival versus the survival of the world, and who prioritizes what. And I think Ren had that issue with he didn't care about himself as much as he cared about saving the world, but then it was really tied in.
It was kind of he had to survive in order for the world to survive.
Yeah, and he said it's better that someone... Oh, sorry, that wasn't Ren, but he's like, better that someone wins than everyone dies. Like, that was like one of those themes. Like, I thought...
That really was the theme of the film almost, wasn't it?
Yeah, which is really good. They sort of made like these, few little words every now and then, like freedom fighters, and people were tortured and people were captured, and the refugee camp. So I think it was like trying to have this really nice sort of message as well as what's going on in the world. These are bad things. We don't want these things to happen.
Yeah.
So... what do we take away from the film?
I thought it was a kind of a perfect film for Netflix, really. Kind of that low budget thing. I'm like you guys hooked on it straight away. Just a great film to sit down and watch, and bang, you're hooked straight away and enjoying it.
You just kept learning things every 5-10 minutes. Initially, I thought it was like Edge of Tomorrow. Yeah. He dies and so he just resets every time he dies, because he dies in like the first 4 or 5 loops.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until he was like asking Hannah, he's like, so what happened after I died? And she's like, oh, well, this happened, and then it all went slow and it started again. I was like, so it doesn't just reset when he dies.
Yeah.
I thought it did a really good job of, it had to be repetitive, but the repetitiveness of it was to advance the narrative, and it wasn't done where it was boring or dragged on. Like, they did enough in each loop to retell what was happening in a different way, that it wasn't like, we've seen this over and over and over again.
Absolutely.
I think there was maybe like the 3rd or 4th loop, there was a couple times I was like, okay, like we're getting a bit different here. But then I think after that, you find out that Sonny's aware of the loop, and I'm like, okay, here we go. We're stepping it up again.
When Sonny knew about the
when Sonny came away, I was like, here we go.
But that was like,
this is going to be good.
The first 20 minutes, that was one of the, like, I'm thinking in my head, why is no one else remembering what's happening?
Yeah.
And I liked how they revealed, this is why it's taken so long.
They progressed it really well. Yeah.
And I think it went for 88 minutes, I think it was.
Yeah.
And
1 hour.
I think that was perfect. And maybe if this was made by a bigger studio, they would have pushed it out by an extra 20 minutes.
Thought the exact same thing.
They would have been like, let's, we need to push it to an hour 40, because that's what most movies are these days. And, This is one of the few films where I thought it was so well paced. It didn't, as I said, he didn't waste a minute. So he wasn't like, I could put this scene in, but it doesn't add much. You know what, I'll just cut it. And I love that about it. It was great. And I like that, they keep trying and they keep failing, and it leaves that open. Like, can they keep? Yeah. I really like.
I kind of like the fact that the loop had, sketchy as it was, but it had some sort of scientific explanation about why time was looping.
Yeah.
You look at like Groundhog Day or Edge of Tomorrow, and like you just accept the fact that it's the same day or it's the same thing.
That's just the premise of the movie.
Yeah.
It's like, we'll just believe that.
Yeah. So at least they tried to be like, this is why it's happening.
Yeah. They did a good job like that. Yeah.
Because I mean, you can never understand it, but.
With most of these films, we're watching these individually by ourselves. I reckon this would have been a good film to sit and watch with a couple of people.
Agreed. Feed off the energy.
Yeah. Because you'd be sitting there with someone and you'd be like, what happened there? Like, what's going on?
That's what this is. I say right now, today, this is the most I've looked forward to our podcast, because I just want to talk about this film with people. And I didn't even care about dissecting it. I just want to talk about the plot.
Yeah.
Why this happened. And that's what's been the most fun.
And that's what makes it a good sci-fi. Like, a good sci-fi is one that's got these themes and these underlying messages. And, Netflix, this is the 12 films in, this is the first sci-fi. And I feel like we've all had a bit of, there's a bit of meat to it that we can actually
grip
onto, which is good.
Yeah, it's more than just the science fiction side of things. There's so much more to it.
Yeah, it's the underlying themes, which is good. Anything else that we want to talk about, like what we took away from the film?
I've kind of agree with what you were saying before about just how well paced it was and like really good time thing. I could have also really enjoyed this as an 8 to 10 episode TV series. Absolutely. I mean, I really love the pace of it and everything. I wouldn't have also minded seeing some flashbacks to, I guess, how the world became that way. More flashbacks to when Ren and Hannah were, before they were captured by Taurus, when they were captured, maybe more torture and how it became that way. I could have definitely seen this being a Netflix miniseries as well, and I think I would have really enjoyed that side of it as well.
I think I would have enjoyed that as a spin-off post the movie, because I think it would have had
sequel as like
exactly.
Yeah,
it would have had such a different feel to it. Because what I liked most about this film was that it was so exciting and fast paced, and you do lose all that.
Oh, you would. Yeah, you would.
But I agree. I think it was as Jesse was doing, meaty enough that you could have done a lot more with it.
Oh yeah, you could have explored a hell of a lot more. And I would have enjoyed watching this as a TV series, I think, as much as I really enjoyed this movie as well.
And this is like a world that, they could do a spin-off.
Well, they've created this world, really.
Yeah, and they've done that in 88 minutes, which is
incredible.
Incredible.
And I guess the writer-director, Tony Elliott, has done that with 12 Monkeys. So 12 Monkeys was a movie in like the 90s, a sci-fi movie, great movie. And they've done a spin-off now on Netflix, I think up to the 3rd season. So I guess, like, when thinking about that, I would also have faith that this guy would know what he's doing in terms of a TV show, because he's done it before, spinning off a sci-fi movie into a TV show, and it's been good.
So, all right, say they've done the miniseries instead of the movie. How does it end, Peter?
Oh,
because realistically, if they break that loop, then it's just going to turn into the Tauros versus the Block.
It ends with like a war battle between the Block and Taurus fighting for this energy source. Or the Resistance, the Block. Definitely.
I would have liked it if there's another loop outside that loop. So then it's like there's like a bigger pie outside the thing.
That would have destroyed me.
We should make this TV show, guys.
Could you imagine if they brought that out? This is what you thought was happening. Yeah. And then there's like this bigger circle. Like, this is what's
it's even bigger.
I hope you're listening, Tony Elliott.
Just give us a call. We've got plenty of ideas.
Did any of you IMDb? Did we IMDb anything in this film?
I just jumped on probably about halfway through to see who the writer and director was.
It was Tony Elliott.
Well, just more just to see what else they'd done, because I was enjoying it so much. I'm like, oh, what else has this guy done? And seeing, he's done a lot of sci-fi work. I'm like, this is why I'm enjoying it, because he's good at sci-fi. He knows what he's doing.
I'll be frank, I did not touch my phone this movie. I was so in it.
I didn't touch my phone either, but I did pause. I got up off the couch, walked over to the bookshelf, and got a dictionary. Do any of you know what a dictionary is? And I picked up the dictionary because
dude, you got Google on your phone.
Because I'm probably going to.
Why do you even own a dictionary?
I'm going to sound like an idiot here because I wanted to know what a script was. Because I was like, okay, a script. They want these scripts at the start. I'm like, what on earth is a script? And obviously, it's like a certificate of money or land.
It's kind of their currency.
Or a currency. Yeah. So that was.
Did you actually get up?
No. I just thought that was a good story.
Yeah.
No.
So do you actually own a dictionary?
I own many dictionaries.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I have one. No, I have a thesaurus at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, dictionaries, they come in handy every now and then.
So's your phone. It's got Google.
I 70% believed you.
Good, I'm glad.
I did. I could see you doing it.
I fully believed your story. Like, definitely something you do.
So, have we got any? What we've had a lot of questions for each other already. I've got a question. So,
go for it.
The piece of paper in his mouth with sky. Why was the code word sky? Like, what relevance? You guys might not know either. I couldn't work out what was so relevant about sky.
But it wasn't sky, was it? Wasn't that?
No, I know it wasn't sky. I know that the code word in the end wasn't sky.
Sky was a different code word though. Sky was like the shutdown code word.
Yeah.
It?
So why did they pick sky as the shutdown code word? I feel like everything else has reason behind.
Yeah.
But I feel like the sky had no reason.
I couldn't tell you. Yeah, I don't see a reason.
That annoyed me a little bit because I thought, okay, maybe we could have had a code word that maybe tied one of the other characters to something else. But yeah, I was just like,
I'm thinking we should just put it on now and just watch it again.
To be honest, like there would definitely be a reason for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Because this movie's too clever to waste it.
So if anyone does know why, please
let us know.
Yeah, let us know.
Tweet us in. Let us know.
We're not perfect.
We're not at all.
So far from
anything else that stood like?
I think I've asked everything.
We've already asked quite a lot of questions. I think it's time to sort of give our summaries, I guess, and what we gave it out of 5 stars or 5 rating points.
As long as we can continue to talk about this film after we finish recording.
I'm serious. Let's put it on.
I would
watch it again.
So, do you
want me to start? All right.
Hit us off.
I really enjoyed this movie. I was hooked in from the opening minutes and stayed that way. It was a great story, just a really good put together film. So yeah, it was good, and it's a great way for you to spend an hour and a half. I gave it 3.5 stars out of 5.
Nice.
Yep, Tony Elliott did a great job on taking you along the ride by drip feeding you information on this world slowly, methodically, and he successfully builds, these exciting twists and turns and keeps you guessing. It was engaging, it was heart racing. I said it before, it was edge of your seat stuff for me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a real surprise packet because I'm not a huge sci-fi fan. I wasn't expecting much, but this is a slam dunk 4-star film.
Good.
Nice.
Ooh.
And Jesse, how'd you rate it?
So this was the second time I'd seen the film, and I enjoyed it just as much the second time as I had the first time. I watched it like literally when it came out 2 years ago. So it had been a while since I'd watched it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had memories that I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it just as much this time around.
Yep.
Obviously, I knew where it was going, but still watching the reveals was just as exciting for me.
It's a good sign.
Yeah, so repeat watching works fine on this one. So if you have watched it, listen to us, go back and watch it again, just to...
And you also pick up more stuff as well the second time
absolutely.
over. Yeah.
So I've given it 3.5 as well.
Great.
Out of 5. So Heater, what's that give us as an average?
It gives us the third highest score so far. It's a 3.67 out of 5.
Good. So nice. 12 films and it's sitting up there in the top 3. As usual, we do appreciate social media, and as usual, we've got a question for social media. It's tricky.
It's going to be a good one this time.
It was tricky this time because I feel like we've had such a good discussion.
We've asked a lot of questions. We've asked a lot of questions of each other in this podcast. What have you got left that wasn't asked?
So, I know it's tough. So it's a pretty obvious one, but I'm going to start it with a bit of a prophecy. So, if we keep trying, we can change. So that's just a comment. So do we think Ren and Hannah will ever overcome it by changing?
You're such a high school teacher.
I am. Never. What are you? How is that a high school teacher thing? It's not. So we'll.
Year 12 essay.
So if we keep trying, we can change. Will Ren and Hannah ever overcome the loop?
It's a good question.
And yeah, I think everyone should have a different. I feel like it's a positive end. So maybe.
So do I.
Yeah.
It's not overly positive, which is
Yeah.
nice. I like that. It wasn't like a, hey, we did it. Let's run off
Party.
into the sunset. I like that.
So this question will be on our social media channels. We're on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Flix Forum. We've been getting some good feedback on there, so please do contribute to the conversation.
I'm going to request that someone feeds back who listened to this pod that hasn't watched the movie, and what did they actually think of this? Because it's so complicated. I could imagine listening to us being like, what the hell are you guys talking about?
What is this movie that they're talking about?
Did we help explain it to you at all, or are you just more confused than ever?
And just go watch the movie.
If you're that person, let us know on Facebook or Twitter or even Instagram or even email us.
Exactly. Obviously, we need you to listen to us, so subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts if you can. We're on Podbean and also on Spotify. So hit up there, give us some 5-star ratings. We've got a few on there now, which is really good. Next week, the film that we're looking at is the 2016 historical drama war film, The Siege of Jadedville. It's directed by Richie Smythe. It stars Jamie Dornan, who...
I'm so pumped for this movie.
If it's anything like 50 Shades of Grey, we're in for a
50
treat.
Shades of Grey.
Get on the 4. He's brilliant in the 4.
Also has Mark Strong in it.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
I'm pumped for this movie. Can't wait to
Mark
watch
Strong,
it.
Mikhail Persbrand, Jason O'Mara, and Danny Sapani. So get on board, watch the film beforehand, so what we're saying makes sense.
It's going to be good.
We're looking forward to
You
it.
might actually give a rating that's positive.
This film might get a half decent rating for me.
This could be Heath's first 4 3.5 plus.
Let's say I've given a 4 before. This one was my second highest at 3.5 for ARQ.
Ooh. All right. So as usual, good catching up. We've had a very lengthy discussion. So thanks.
It's been good fun. Thanks, boys.
Thanks for the time, and we will see you guys all next week.
See you next week.
See ya.